I wanted to begin with a highly non-consensual note. That it seems to me that we've been governed over the past 5 years really on the basis of the assumption that if things are okay for people at the top, then everyone else will be okay as well. But the consequence of that has been 900,000 people turning up at a church-run food bank over the past year because they haven't been able to afford enough food for themselves and their families. And it does seem to me that being able to afford enough food is about as basic an element of the common good as you can get. But I think ministers have just not been willing to engage with this. The chief executive of the Trussell Trust wrote to the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions 2 years ago, said, can we come and talk to you about the problems we're seeing in the benefit system? As Anna said, between 1/2 and 2/3 of people going to a food bank are there because of some problem in the benefit system. And the Secretary of State wrote back to the chief executive of the Trussell Trust and said, no, you can't come and see me, and basically accused the Trussell Trust of being a bunch of publicity seekers. And it seems to me we do have to have a system that will engage with this kind of problem when it arises. One of the worst things that's happened, I think, has been the introduction of the bedroom tax. 600,000 families affected, 2/3 of them a household with a disabled person and I've met a number of people campaigning in East Ham High Street the last couple of weeks who've been hit by the bedroom tax. They can't move because there isn't anywhere smaller for them to move to. They're stuck with this extra bedroom that's now deemed they shouldn't have. They've just had to take the hit. They weren't very well off to start with. And it's not surprising that the bedroom tax has emerged as one of the things that's driving people to food banks. And carrying on being non-consensual for a bit, you know, there's been about a 20 billion a year reduction in working age benefit spending since 2010. There hasn't been an overall reduction in benefit spending because the reduction in working age benefits has been made up for exactly by the increase in pensioner benefits. There's been a 20 billion reduction, and that's left us with getting on for 1 million people going to a food bank. The Conservatives are proposing an extra 12 billion to come out of the welfare budget over the next 2 years. And I don't think there's any way of doing that without pushing the number of people going to food banks to getting up towards 2 million over that period. The food bank phenomenon, I think, has been remarkable. Almost all the food banks are church-based. And it's turned out to be a truth about modern secular Britain that it has been uniquely the churches which have had both the motivation and, more surprisingly perhaps, the resources to take on this sudden problem of hundreds of thousands of people unable to afford enough food for themselves. And I think that has highlighted the enormous potential of church-based and other faith-based organisations to play a bigger role in supporting communities and providing services. I chair the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Faith and Society, which exists to help celebrate and support faith-based organisations in the contributions they're making in their communities, providing the kinds of things that Sam was talking about, which other institutions aren't really providing now. It's clear there is a big problem about the relationship between local authorities and faith groups in their areas. A lot of local authority officers are worried that if they commission a service from a faith-based group, then the money that's provided will either be used for proselytising instead of delivering the service, or the service will be delivered in a way that's biased towards the interests of that particular faith group. Now, the evidence, such as there is evidence, is that neither of those things actually happens. But picking up a suggestion that David Lammy actually made, our all-party group has developed what we call a covenant to kind of set out ground rules for both local authorities and faith-based organisations to sign up to, in the hope that that will enable better cooperation between them. And we're certainly going to need, I think, some more creative kind of collaborations between local authorities and other government agencies and faith-based groups if we are to get through the next few years with reasonable levels of service still being provided. I'm being One final point. Thanks for the prompt. Just going back to a slightly non-consensual note again. The Labour Party published its manifesto today, and in his introduction, Ed Miliband makes the point as a kind of fundamental truth, as he puts it, that runs through this manifesto, is that Britain will only succeed when working people succeed. I think we do have to have that conviction that we want everybody to be part of the good things that Britain can provide. Thank you.